You've spent years trying to understand yourself. You've read the books, you've traced your patterns, you've sat with your pain. And now, you find yourself alone. The more you see, the less you can pretend. The more you understand, the harder it becomes to connect. There is a quiet loneliness that comes with self-awareness, a space where few can follow. Today, we explore why the deepest understanding of your own mind can build the highest walls around your heart. This is the price of seeing clearly, and the hidden reason you might be sitting in a room by yourself, knowing exactly why, but feeling more isolated than ever. You notice it first in small moments, when friends share simple stories about their weekends and you're silently analyzing the underlying motivations instead of simply listening. When someone expresses a common frustration and you find yourself mentally tracing it back to their childhood dynamics rather than offering comfort. The conversations that used to flow easily now feel like puzzles to solve, and the solutions you find only create distance. You start to see the unconscious scripts everyone follows, the need for approval rooted in parental neglect, the perfectionism covering deep shame, the relationships that repeat old wounds. And seeing these patterns so clearly makes ordinary social interactions feel like watching actors perform lines you've already decoded. This isn't about intellectual superiority. It's the opposite. It's the heavy realization that most people live in their stories without seeing the machinery behind them, while you can't unsee the gears turning. You stop participating in the collective illusions that make casual friendship possible. The small talk that avoids real pain, the shared fantasies about happiness, the unspoken agreement not to question why we do what we do. Your awareness becomes a silent observer in every room. And that observer cannot pretend. So you withdraw, not because you feel better than others, but because you feel too separate, too aware of the invisible walls between every human being. The very understanding that was supposed to connect you to yourself has disconnected you from others. This separation begins long before you ever picked up a psychology book. It starts in the quiet moments of your childhood, when you first learned that being too perceptive came with a cost. Perhaps you were the child who noticed the tension in your parents' voices when they said everything was fine. You saw the flicker of anger behind a forced smile, the subtle rejection in a distracted glance. While other children lived in the simple world of play and immediate feelings, you were already collecting data about human inconsistency. You learned to watch, to analyze, because understanding felt safer than feeling. If you could predict the emotional weather in your home, you could prepare for the storm. This was your first training in seeing behind the mask, a survival skill that now leaves you stranded in ordinary social spaces. Freud would point to this early awakening as both a gift and a curse. The child who becomes the family analyst often pays for this wisdom with their innocence. They learn that what people say and what they feel are often completely different things. They discover that love can be conditional, that anger can be silent, that safety is never guaranteed. So they develop a second layer of consciousness, a constant observer that monitors for hidden meanings and unspoken truths. This observer doesn't shut off when you grow up. It stands between you and every conversation, every new acquaintance, every potential friendship. It whispers that beneath the pleasant words lies the same human complexity you first witnessed in your family living room. The tragedy is that this analytical lens was born from a need to connect. The child who studied their parents' moods was desperately trying to reach them, to understand them, to earn their love. But the tool that once helped you navigate your family now prevents you from joining the human tribe. You approach friendships like you once approached your childhood home, with careful observation, looking for the hidden patterns, preparing for disappointment. The very skill that helped you survive your past now makes it difficult to live in your present. You're still that child watching from the corner of the room, except now the room is your entire social world, and the watching has become a prison of your own making. And so you find yourself in the quiet collapse of your social world. It doesn't happen with a dramatic fight or a clear ending. It happens in the slow, steady accumulation of silences, the invitations that stop coming, the group chats you're no longer in, the weekends that stretch out empty and still. You tell yourself you prefer the solitude, that it's more honest than the noise of people who don't see. But in the deepest part of the night, a colder truth whispers back. You are lonely. The machinery of the mind you worked so hard to understand has now left you stranded outside the very connections you once craved. This is the price of your awareness. You have traded the comfort of illusion for the burden of truth. And the truth is that most human bonds are built on a foundation of selective blindness. People connect through shared fantasies. The fantasy that we are in control, that our choices are entirely our own, that our pasts don't whisper through our present. You can no longer participate in these fantasies. When a friend talks about their new romance, you see the ghost of their absent parent in their choice of partner. When a colleague seeks validation, you see the child who was never praised. You are not judging them. You are simply seeing them. And in that clear, unflinching sight, you break the first rule of casual friendship. You do not look beneath the surface. The collapse is internal too. A constant, low hum of exhaustion follows you. Every social interaction requires energy to navigate the gap between what you see and what you are expected to pretend not to see. You must consciously choose to silence the observer, to engage with the script instead of the subtext. It is a performance, and you are tired. So you start to decline. You make excuses. You choose the certainty of your own company over the exhausting work of pretending you don't see the gears turning in everyone else. The very act that feels like self-preservation, this retreat, only deepens the isolation. You are caught in a loop. You withdraw because you see too much, and seeing too much becomes easier in the silence of your own space. This is the emotional repetition Freud spoke of. You are repeating the original dynamic of your childhood. Back then, you were the quiet observer in your family, connected yet separate, understanding yet not fully participating. Now, you have recreated that exact position in your adult life. You are once again the one who watches from the periphery, understanding the play but never stepping onto the stage. The loneliness you feel now is not a new feeling. It is the oldest one you know. It is the loneliness of the child who understood the family secret but could never speak of it. You have built a life that perfectly mirrors your first wound, a world where you see everything, and because you see everything, you are ultimately alone. But here is the turning point, the moment of understanding that changes everything. The reason you are alone is not because you see too much, but because you are still using your sight as a shield. Your analysis was never the problem. It is the way you use it, the purpose it serves. You believe your awareness separates you, but the truth is, it is your fear that does. The fear that if you step out from behind the observer and into the messy, unpredictable arena of human connection, you will be hurt just as you were long ago. Your deep understanding has become your new fortress, and you are the lonely king inside its walls. Freud would suggest that the goal of analysis is not to build a separate reality, but to return to the common one with more compassion, starting with compassion for yourself. You see the patterns in others because you first learned to see them in yourself. That is the gift you have been given. The loneliness you feel is not a sentence, it is a sign. A sign that the old way of relating, the way of the watchful child, has served its purpose and is now causing you pain. It is a signal that you are ready for a new chapter, not of abandoning your understanding, but of integrating it. To move from observing life to participating in it, with all its beautiful, flawed, and unconscious humanity. The understanding is this: True connection does not require you to pretend you are blind. It asks you to see clearly and to choose kindness anyway. It asks you to witness the unconscious patterns in your friends, their fears and their repetitions, and to meet them not with clinical distance, but with the empathy of someone who knows what it is to be human. Your awareness does not have to be a wall. It can be a bridge built on the simple, profound realization that everyone is fighting a hidden battle, everyone is repeating an old story, and everyone, including you, just wants to be seen and accepted, even with their gears showing. So I ask you this: where in your life are you using your understanding as a reason to stay separate? Where are you mistaking the observation of patterns for a true connection with the people behind them? You have spent so long believing that your awareness is what sets you apart, but the real separation comes from the story you have attached to that awareness. The story that says, because you see the hidden motives and the childhood echoes, you cannot belong. This story is the true barrier, not the site itself. It is a story written long ago, in a room where a child decided it was safer to watch than to participate. That child learned a painful lesson: to see is to be alone. And you, the adult, have been living by that same rule ever since. But what if you could rewrite that story? What if your ability to see beneath the surface is not a curse of isolation, but the very key to a deeper kind of connection? The people you feel separate from are carrying their own hidden worlds. They have their own unspoken pains, their own quiet repetitions. Your awareness does not have to be a tool for dissection. It can be a gesture of recognition, a silent nod that says, "I see you, and you are not alone in your struggle." This is not about explaining their pain to them. It is about sitting with them inside of it. The shift is subtle, but it changes everything. It is the movement from analyzing to witnessing. When you analyze, you are outside looking in. But when you witness, you are alongside them. You are two humans in a room, both flawed, both carrying histories, both trying to be seen. Your awareness becomes a form of presence, not a form of judgment. You listen to your friend's story not to trace its roots, but to understand its weight. You offer comfort not as a solution to a psychological puzzle, but as a hand in the dark. This is the integration Freud pointed toward. The goal was never to live in a separate world of pure understanding. The goal was to bring that understanding back into the shared human experience, to make it a source of compassion rather than separation. Your loneliness is the echo of an old strategy that has outlived its usefulness. The child needed to analyze to feel safe. The adult can choose to connect to feel whole. You do not have to abandon your hard-won sight. You only need to change what you do with it. Let it guide you toward empathy, not away from it. Let it remind you that beneath every surface, every social mask, is a person who, just like you, is trying to find their way home. So I ask you this, directly and quietly: where in your life are you using your understanding as a reason to stay separate? Where are you mistaking the observation of patterns for a true connection with the people behind them? If this video made you feel understood, or even just a little less alone, consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. And so we arrive at the quiet center of this understanding. The realization that your loneliness is not a failure of your analysis, but a misdirection of its purpose. You believed that to see clearly meant to stand apart. But the deeper truth, the one that has been waiting beneath all your observations, is that true sight is meant to bring you closer, not to exile you. The very patterns you trace in others are the same threads that weave you into the human tapestry. Your ability to see the child in the adult, the past in the present, is not a barrier to connection. It is the potential for a connection so real, so stripped of pretense, that it can finally hold the weight of who you are. This is the moment where your awareness can transform from a burden into a gift. The gift is not in knowing why people do what they do, but in holding that knowledge with a soft heart. It is the difference between diagnosing a wound and offering a quiet presence beside it. When you sit with a friend and you see their need for approval, you are not meant to silently label it. You are meant to feel, in that moment, the universal ache to be enough. Your awareness becomes a bridge of shared feeling, not a wall of separate knowing. You are no longer the analyst in the corner. You are the fellow traveler who recognizes the landscape. The fear, of course, is that if you let down this guard, if you step out from behind the safety of observation, you will be hurt, you will be disappointed, you will encounter the very human messiness you have spent a lifetime learning to predict and avoid. And this is true. You will be hurt. Connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability always carries the risk of pain. But the loneliness of the observer is its own kind of pain, a constant, low-grade ache that never truly heals because it is never truly risked. The pain of a broken connection is acute. It is a storm that passes. The pain of no connection at all is a perpetual winter. So the choice is not between pain and no pain. The choice is between the sterile pain of isolation and the fertile, sometimes messy, pain of being alive with others. Your deep understanding of human nature has prepared you for this. You know that people are inconsistent. You know that relationships are complicated. You know that trust can be broken. But you also know, if you look honestly at your own heart, that the desire for connection is stronger than the fear of its complications. Your analysis has given you the map of human frailty. Now you must decide if you will use that map to hide from the territory or to navigate it with courage and compassion. Where in your life, right now, can you take one small step out from behind the observer? Can you listen to a friend's story without the internal commentary and simply be with them in their feeling? Can you share a piece of your own confusion, your own uncertainty, and allow yourself to be seen not as the one who has it all figured out, but as the one who is also always learning? This is the integration. This is the moment your sight becomes sight lines, pathways leading you back to the world, back to the messy, beautiful, unconscious dance of being human together. This is the final, quiet truth that your loneliness has been trying to teach you. It was never a punishment for seeing too clearly. It was an invitation to see differently, to shift your gaze from the hidden machinery to the human being operating it. The person who is tired, who is scared, who is hoping, just like you. Your awareness is not the lock on the door of your solitude. It is the key. But you have been holding it upside down, trying to force a mechanism that only opens from the inside. The turn of the key is not more analysis. It is the simple, courageous act of allowing yourself to be a participant in the very human drama you have mastered as a spectator. So I ask you this, directly and quietly. Where in your life are you using your understanding as a reason to stay separate? Where are you mistaking the observation of patterns for a true connection with the people behind them? If this video made you feel understood, or even just a little less alone, consider liking it and subscribing to the channel.